Hey, what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here, and have I got a brand new video for you. Welcome to part 6 of What If Deku Had an Esper Quirk. Please, sit back and relax because you are in for a treat. And with that out of the way, let's get this story going, shall we? Midoriya sighed softly as he sat in his room, legs crossed and eyes closed. He listened to the white noise that echoed throughout the silent bedroom, slowly reminiscing about the storm of pure chaos that occurred just days ago. The attack on USJ had become one of his worries, rather than his only one when he went to have his quirk observed after his psychic explosion during the villain's raid. His MRI showed a ridiculous growth in his brain activity, signaling the event may have somehow revealed a hidden reservoir of power to his quirk. The young man was both excited by the news and frustrated by its meaning. The telekinetic force he was able to produce was magnified, meaning he would have to entirely recalibrate his ability. The doctor even theorized the event could have unlocked the potential for new abilities. Refining his telekinesis would prove to be a challenge in itself, but combining it with even more abilities to juggle? Midoriya wanted Bakugo to put him into a coma. Unable to sit still any longer, the freckled teen stood up and stretched, waiting for his mother to call him down for dinner. "Izuku, I finished dinner. Come down and eat." The jungle-haired Esper laughed, still finding it amusing how he never even noticed that particular ability of his. It turned out he had already had a power other than telekinesis before the USJ. Precognition. It wasn't as powerful as the pro hero Sir Night Eyes, but it sure helped out in past situations. He continued his pondering as he continued down the stairs. His train of thought changed over the fact UA was calling Class 1A back tomorrow. He could only hope that the media hounds from the past would decide not to harass him and his classmates again. He pushed the awful thought from his mind and just focused on eating and preparing himself for whatever was causing his precognition to go off while thinking about UA. Midoriya sighed as the class began discussing loudly about Aizawa's announcement. Despite the recent villain attack, UA was determined to show the strength of their students and campus by continuing the annual sports festival. The freckled Esper didn't mind participating in the event, but his new influx of power was already causing him a headache, and a bunch of chatty teenagers certainly didn't help the matter. He sighed as he tried to push himself through the pain, reminding himself of how integral the sports festival was to students. It was the time where upcoming heroes in training were scouted and offered internships at various hero agencies, jumpstarting their future careers. "Hey Midoriya, what internship do you want to get?" Kirishima's question actually made the boy freeze, as he focused all his energy into thought. He was actually quite torn with the subject. He would enjoy sharpening his analytical skills further, and possibly work on his precognition by interning with Sir Night Eye. However, the juniper-haired teen had not forgotten about his curiosity about Endeavor and Todoroki's relationship. If he managed to attract the attention of the second most popular hero, he could probably finally make some headway into his little investigation. "Well, I'd love to intern with Sir Night Eye. His quirk could prove very useful for honing a part of my quirk that I wasn't aware existed." It was best that his thoughts of joining the number 2 hero's agency were kept to himself. Todoroki's previous reactions to him poking around were not met well. Everyone seemed to accept the freckled teen's answer, turning to chat amongst themselves once more. He used the loss of attention on him to focus all his thoughts on contemplating the benefits of trying to join Endeavor's agency. It could provide him all the information he could need in his investigation about why Shoto Todoroki seemed to despise his father. At the same time, he wasn't lying when he said that Night Eye could help him work on part of his quirk. He still didn't know his limits with his precognition ability. He sighed as the bell rang, and continued throughout the day with his dilemma on his mind. At lunch, he was interrupted from his trance-like state by Bakugo. "Hey Brainiac, what the hell's going on with you?" The freckled Esper only blinked in response, making the blonde's eyebrow twitch. "You've been walking around like a zombie all day. I had to pull you out of the way so you didn't run into someone. Twice!" Midoriya had the humility to blush in embarrassment, not realizing he was getting carried away thinking again. He apologized and thanked his friend, only receiving a huff for a response. In order to keep from becoming a more serious problem, Midoriya decided to keep his pondering at bay until the day finally ended, and he had returned home. It turns out he would make the right choice, as when exiting one of their classes, 1A found themselves completely surrounded by other students. He heard one of his classmates question their appearance at their class, cursing them as he heard his friends start to talk. "Isn't it obvious? They're scoping out the competition. They want to know what they're up against." The ashen blonde began to walk up to the crowd. "Well, you got a good look. So, Kacchan, shut up!" A psychic force clamped both of the angry teen's lips together quickly. "We don't need your lack of a proper filter painting a giant target on our backs." "Oh? And why would you think that? Do you think we can't handle some smack talk?" An indigo-haired male stepped out of the crowd, meeting the emerald gaze of Midoriya. "Not at all. But I've known Kacchan for years before we came to UA, and his mouth has always had a way of getting him, and often others, in trouble." The freckled Esper was courteous in his explanation, already feeling a bit of tension springing up. "He's just eager to go up against all the incredible students of UA during the sports festival. Right, Kacchan?" "Yeah, I'll be looking forward to wiping the floor with these extras." The blonde instantly continued his insults upon the release of the force, making his best friend facepalm. "You better watch out, because I'm taking first place." I didn't expect to find such an egomaniac in a course for heroes, a course I desired to be in. Unfortunately, the first time around, I was unsuccessful in entering the hero course. But it may not stay that way. A steely glint entered his eyes. If I can prove myself to be worthy of being in this class, I can get put into this course, meaning room would have to be made for me by kicking one of you out. I hope you understand that by this, I am declaring war on all of you. The declaration seemed to be infectious, as another student also rallied with the idea. The teenage genius groaned eternally, deciding to just let things go as they were. Clearly, Bakugo improved far too much at pissing people off since the beginning of the year. A headache followed Midoriya all the way home that day. "This really is quite the dilemma I find myself in, isn't it?" The psychic adolescent spoke to himself, casually practicing his telekinesis with his hero analysis notebooks. "Do I want to pursue an internship which could improve control of my quirk, with a hero who has a neat record? Or do I wish to further my investigation of Todoroki and his family by interning with a hero who's known to be a harsh taskmaster?" He groaned as he flopped onto his bed, all the notebooks dropping to the ground with a series of thumps. He could already feel a headache building up due to the combination of practicing his quirk and thinking about internships. Maybe it couldn't hurt to take Kacchan's advice and live in the moment. The freckled young man stared at his ceiling. "I always think and plan ahead to try and control the situation, and it's exhausting. Maybe it could be refreshing to just let this go and let the pieces fall into place. If I do get an internship with Endeavor, I'll take it. No one will question me doing so since he's the second best hero in Japan. If I don't, I hope that'll catch the attention of Sir Night-Eye." With a thorough resolve in his choice, the calculative teen felt some of the pain in his head slowly begin to abate. He sighed in relief and began to practice his telekinesis again. After all, even if he was okay with not getting an internship with Endeavor, Sir Night-Eye would not be easily impressed. Over the next 2 weeks, Midoriya trained his quirk religiously, mastering his control over the power surge that occurred after the USJ incident. He had caused himself many migraines during his training sessions, the pain causing further exhaustion on his part. The pains would worsen as he found Bakugo not wanting his best friend to be able to one-up him by seeing his secret moves, as they should train individually. An understandable prospect, but now he would have to train harder to be prepared for a real attack against him. Just a few days before the sports festival was set to take place, Midoriya began recalling his method of using his quirk during the 50-meter dash and long jump during his first day. While they were unrefined, the idea holds much merit. He stepped closer to the ledge of a small cliff he had found. For a while, I feared that using my quirk on myself could have ill effects, possibly making me crush myself on accident. However, with my new power, combined with a more refined control... Taking a page out of the book of his reckless companion, Midoriya leapt before he looked, jumping off the ledge and focusing his telekinesis around him. He closed his eyes tightly, focusing hard as he felt the wind whistling around him as he fell. And then came the silence. He opened one of his eyes, seeing the green grass underneath him just an inch away. He had stopped moving completely, floating in midair. The jungle-haired young man concentrated, using his powers to move himself to a standing position. He looked at his body, seeing it encased in an emerald glow. Kacchan is going to hate me when he sees this! A satisfied smirk appeared on the genius's face, already imagining the anger on his childhood friend's face. Finally, it was the morning of the festival, and Inko stood by her son as he got ready for it, telling him to be careful and that she would record the whole thing in HD. She wished him well as he quickly made his way to the prestigious academy that was being swamped by reporters once more. Excitement reached an all-time high as pro heroes walked amongst the crowd as well, preparing to watch the events to scout out potential candidates for an internship, with several being there purely for security. All of Class 1A was waiting in a single room, several of them very anxious. Todoroki called for Midoriya, staring at him with a serious look. Midoriya, you and I are clearly the most objectively powerful students in our class. The freckled Esper raised a juniper-colored eyebrow. Be that as it may, I will defeat you and prove myself. The tension in the room intensified. Kaminari cracked a joke to try and diffuse the obvious tension, with Kirishima joining in as well, as he put his hand on Todoroki's shoulder. Kirishima was shrugged off by the teen, who pointed out that this was no team effort before walking away. He was stopped as Midoriya called out to him. The psychic teenager walked towards his classmate. You really are fascinating, Todoroki, but you are wrong in your assumption. Midoriya stood in front of the heterochromatic teen. I will be the one defeating you. Your reluctance to use the other part of your quirk is your biggest and most exploitable weakness. But I welcome you to try using only your ice with me. A declaration of war had broken out in 1A as well, not just between the two students, but a silent one had been declared throughout the whole class. Things just got interesting. And that's our video for today, so thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed this. Now before I go, there's a little bit of housekeeping. First, We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing pleasures. All the information you'll need is right below in the description, so please, feel free to check out all the other incredible projects and content our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I want to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details are in the description as well. That's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have an amazing day. And, as always, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and stay awesome! This has been Tim, Mustache out!